All right, picture this. You're facing a looming deadline and it's creeping closer by the minute. You find yourself absentmindedly opening the fridge for the third time in just 20 minutes, hoping the magical snack you desire will suddenly appear. You sit back down to work, but all you can think about is finding something delicious to eat. You're not even hungry, but the urge to raid the pantry strikes again. And before you know it, you've given in. The guilt seeps in, leaving you feeling out of control. Sound familiar? Well, buckle up, because we're jumping straight into the connection between ADHD and binge eating disorder. Like right now. Well, right after you like this video and go and subscribe. So go on, I can wait. We're definitely not waiting.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Tennille and I appreciate you being part of my little community I'm trying to create. Today we're uncovering the not so secret world of ADHD and binge eating disorder. But hey, if you're short on time, I've got you covered. You can skip ahead to the timestamp. Alright, let's quickly recap these two disorders, shall we? ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, is like living in a constant state of overwhelm. It messes with your executive function and it makes simple decisions feel like life or death situations. Vacuum or do the dishes. It's a wild ride, let me tell you, but hey, we make it work, right? Now, binge eating disorder, or BED, is no joke either. It's a serious mental health condition where food becomes a ride you didn't sign up for. Imagine frequent episodes of eating unusually large amounts of food, feeling like you're on autopilot and you can't hit the brakes. The guilt and shame that follow are like two unwanted sidekicks. They never leave, ever. I talk about both ADHD and BED more in-depthly in my other videos. If you want to check them out, I'll leave the links in the description down below so you can have a suss through them if you haven't before. So why do these two little acronyms insist on being together so frequently? It sounds like a very toxic relationship. And it is, but it's not your fault. People with ADHD are at an increased risk for eating disorders. The research seems to be more focused on BED, which is lucky for me because that's the one that I have experience with. Ooh. So according to a research study from Duke University, from this university, I never know how to say it. Some people's dogs are Duke, some people's dogs are Duke. 30% of people with acute binge eating disorder also struggle with ADHD. So I've just learned from like 20 minutes of research that we have these things called neurobehavioral circuits, and they play a pretty big role. These circuits, let's call them our brain's pathways, affects how we make decisions, control impulses, and regulate emotions. And in both ADHD and eating disorders, these pathways can be similar, leading to impulsive behavior and difficulties with self-control. Impulsive eating is like a recurring topic in our lives, thanks to our lack of impulse control. We ADHD folk are naturally impulsive, with a million thoughts racing through our minds at any given moment. The overwhelm will kill us all. Unfortunately, this impulsivity can throw off our ability to accurately read our own hunger cues, and that can lead to overeating or binging. Now, let's talk about ADHD and its connection to low dopamine activity. So picture this, right? Dopamine is like a little neurotransmitter. It's the messenger in our bodies. It helps our nervous system send messages between nerve cells and plays a crucial role in how we experience pleasure, how we think and plan. It's a secret sauce that keeps us focused and intrigued by things. Now, interestingly, neuroimaging research has shown that both disordered eating, especially binge eating disorder, and ADHD involve the same reward system in our brains. Our brain is kind of smart sometimes, and it recognizes that when we eat, we're doing something right, and it releases these feel-good chemicals like dopamine that make us feel pleasure. And guess what? Our brain is hardwired to seek out behaviors that activate this reward system. So this shared reward system leads us to indulge in food and give in to our desires with little thought or control. It's like our ADHD brains are on a constant quest for stimulation that can bring about quick and intense dopamine boosts, way more than a neurotypical brain craves. Now, the term executive function gets thrown around a lot in the ADHD space, but the deficits in our executive function may contribute to developing binge eating behaviors. Think of EF functions like this. EFs are like the CEOs of our brains, right? They help us coordinate and prioritize and make decisions. But for those of us with ADHD, our brain CEOs can sometimes feel like they've just left for vacation with no notice, no underling to fill in for them while they're away. It's a boardroom of just disorganized chaos, and someone with the decision-making ability of a 5-year-old is left standing there in an oversized suit, screaming, crying, and just wanting a little snack. After a long and stressful day, I used to find myself coming home and looking for something to give me the happy chemicals. I'd be tired, overwhelmed, and I'd go back into like an autopilot mode and just find myself rummaging through the pantry, smashing a bag of chips rather than seek out the stimulation my brain actually craved, which more often than not was actually movement. When our brains struggle to regulate attention or our impulse control or emotions, we can easily turn to food as a way to soothe ourselves. Often not even aware of it until we reach down and realize we already ate the last chip. Without making light of the disorders, I want to emphasize that the emotional toll that they can have on individuals, the cycle of shame, guilt, frustration, is often something we hold on to and keep to ourselves. Very internalized, and it makes us feel really awful. Some of us restrict ourselves at it for a time, feel low, binge to self-soothe, and then feel guilty, which leads back to feeling awful again, and the cycle continues. I've talked about how much this sucks previously, but the irony of ADHD as being bad at sticking to habits is not lost on me. While it's not the case, binging almost feels habitual, that autopilot state just being unconsciously driven. If only we could apply this better to other areas of our lives. Now, it's not fully doom and gloom forever and ever. There are treatment options available for both conditions, therapy and medication being very, very common. Both of these are things that I've been doing alongside working with a dietitian. I'm going to talk further about my experience with meds in the next video in the series, so keep an eye out for that. Or if you know you'll forget because you're a little bit like me, just like and subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you aren't relying on the algorithm to bring you back. Now, I also touched on some of the work I've been doing with my incredible dietitian in the last video already, but the most important things I've learned for myself have been removing good and bad food labels and increasing my eating frequency. I eat something small every 2 to 3 hours. I don't restrict any foods anymore, and the urge to binge has been significantly reduced because I actually have the proper fuel I need to get through the day. When paired with the benefits I've experienced with meds, I can recognize when I'm actually hungry or when I'm just looking for a boost in dopamine. And often I can find dopamine in other areas of my life without resorting to the pantry every time. Now, while I really appreciate you being here and indulging my dream of being a little YouTuber, and listening to my personal experiences, I cannot stress enough the importance of seeking professional help when needed. Your experience is going to be unique, and what works for me may not be suitable for you. There is not a one-size-fits-all in any situation in life, and this is no exception. Consult with healthcare professionals or specialists who can guide you in the right direction and support you on your own journey. As always, I'm really grateful for you being here, so please like and subscribe. Give me those little symbolic dopamine boosts. If you found this video helpful in any way, let me know in the comments. You are not alone in your struggles, and there's always hope for growth and positive change, so just stick at it. Thanks, and I'll see you again in the next one.